Hi everybody, my name is Jasper, and these are my co-founders Christian, Ashley, and Elizabeth, and we're TRACS, a personalized roadmap for a high schooler's education. So there's an app for basically everything nowadays. Technology has influenced every area of our lives, but when it comes to high school education, there's an enormous gap. And this is at a time when 1 in 5 high school students will drop out in the United States, costing taxpayers $32 billion per year in lost revenue. Yet, this is only a symptom of a much larger problem, which is that high school students are not getting the proper tools they need to plan for their successful futures. Let's meet Andy. Right there. So Andy is your average high schooler in...
Just keep going.
Okay, we'll keep going. Andy is your average high schooler in basically every way. And he's recently decided that he wants to be the first in his family to go to college. This is great, but now he's overwhelmed with limitless obstacles. So you saw all these obstacles, and so far, there's no central way to deal with them. Turns out this issue is not specific to Andy at all. We spoke to high schoolers and found out that no matter what their plans were after high school, all of them had to deal with scattered, incomplete resources. And this is not conducive to getting a great education. So a counselor encourages Andy to download TRACS, which will take a swing at all these issues and will do it at a personal level.
So after Andy downloads TRACS, he can take a short quiz that will personalize his experience. And basically this quiz is based on his current state and also what he plans to do in the future. Based on this quiz, Andy is given a personalized timeline that gives him events and goals throughout his education career. TRACS will remind Andy to sign up for the SATs because he's displayed interest in a chemistry program in the future. Andy can also click on Take the SATs to see a more detailed outline of what he should do in order to prepare. He can register for the SATs as well as learn how to study. TRACS will also give a discussion forum to help him to allow Andy to ask questions if he has any. So he can click on a question and he'll get answers from teachers and students, forming a community online so that he doesn't feel like he's alone. We also talked to a number of counselors in the area, and they said that a lot of students are not prepared when they go into their offices, so they don't really have any background information about what they should know before they've come to the office. So these counselors are actually really interested in implementing TRACS. And so we're planning to give the counselors TRACS first, and these counselors will implement it within one school, and then if this works out well, we will push it out to the entire district.
Okay, so with this model, in the first 6 months, we plan on having TRACS free so we can establish as large of a user base as possible. In the next 6 to 12 months, we will adopt a freemium model with Google AdSense so that we generate revenue per app view, while at the same time, schools can opt to subsidize for a no-ad version. The reason for this is we want to get to that third stage right there, which got cut off, that says partnerships. Now recall that while students do have tech information, it's all over the place and it's not centralized. The competitive advantage of TRACS is that it meets students' needs for a centralized source of information about their education and the teachers and the companies that already exist and are there to help them. Thus, companies and schools will definitely want to pay to partner with us, and this will fund our app. So this leaves students with the information they need, so they're happy. Companies and schools get to reach their target audiences much more effectively, so they're happy, and TRACS remains highly profitable. Our next step is to establish a database system capable of working with 2 million California high school students, and so we're looking to expand our expertise there. We hope you consider looking into us more and partnering with us to establish a brighter and more concrete future for our high school students. Thank you.
So could you give us an idea where you are in your development phase? What's done, what's remaining have you guys actually implemented it and see how you're going to take? What are the next steps?
Okay, yeah. So, in terms of our technical development, we've started developing the front end, and we've done a lot of user research with high schools. So we found out what their needs were over time, because at first our app didn't look like this at all. It was very concept, and we were addressing needs that actually didn't exist in high schools. So I think where we've come the furthest is developing a product that would be usable by high schoolers. But as you said, what we need next is we need to develop a database infrastructure and deving the rest of the app so that high schoolers can actually use it. Did that answer your question?
Sort of, but that's okay.
Did any like?
So in terms of from the front end, since I guess somebody must be a CS major, how are you thinking about developing it from a front end perspective?
So front end wise, we have the front end developed, so it's interactable. But as of right now, we are still developing the back end and figuring out databases and like structures on how to pull in nodes and like crawl and things like that, the web base, because we are trying to figure out a way to have it more automated and not just like purely counselor based.
A nice presentation, you guys. Can you tell me about your customer discovery with respect to families and parents or loved ones that want to be involved in this process at all? It's obviously student-centric, which is great, but there's a community of people supporting that student as they move on outside of high school.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So the answer to that question is this app doesn't seek to replace any community at all. It only seeks to unite the community. I'm going to answer a really similar question first. Somebody asked us, will this replace counselors? Because counselors are already there to help students. And the answer is, no, it won't. It'll help counselors get the information to their students faster. If you can imagine, Andy's family may not be as knowledgeable with how to apply to college because he is the first in his family to go to college. Andy will have all the information on his screen, and he can bring it back to his family and back to his friends and compare and show them, oh, like this SAT thing, I've never heard about it. Have you heard about it? And so that really fosters and gets a community going.
Related to that, I wondered if you had other ideas about social sharing, share to Facebook, share to Twitter. Do you imagine that the students will be sharing with each other, or is it more they're sharing with their parents and counselors?
So we're still leaving that part a little bit more open. We did talk to a mentor at the UC Office of the President, and she said that establishing some sort of community in-app is critical, more so than just pushing it to Facebook. So we want to have people who use the app. For example, Andy writes on the SAT kind of discussion page that got pulled up. Anyone else in his school or possibly out of his school with that same SAT node on their timeline will also be able to see it. So in-app community is our number one priority, although we may look at a later point to partnering with other social media.
And I just wanted to clarify your funding model. And so the idea is it'll always be free for students and that the money would come from community partners who would buy into it? Is that?
Yes, that's right. And a quick note about the partnerships is that we have to keep it free to students in order for this to mean anything socially, because if we charge, then it's going to be totally unequal. Education is a $1 trillion industry, and so there's money here, and it's just not, the companies that exist just aren't reaching their students. So we're confident that this will be an excellent platform for that.
Just as a follow-up, I didn't know if you were considering that families might pay for it out of concern for their student.
Mm-hmm. We could consider that as well, but some families may not have the resources to pay for it, and so we want to ensure equal access.
All right, thank you, Trax.